May 25th was National Wine Day. Wait, isn't that every day? If you ask me, my sister, or my cousin, every day is Wine Day. Why only one National Wine Day on May 25th? Are enophiles becoming extinct and are an endangered species in need of a day of their own? Did someone decide U.S. citizens are not drinking enough wine, unlike the French and Italians? Are California wineries suffering financially because they're adding artificial color, since Americans think red wine should be redder? As we think everything should be more of itself in America. But we now drink French wine because we don't want red wine teeth? Why not National Beer Day? That seems so much more American. Not for me, my sister, and my cousin, you understand. We are enophiles to the end, or to the bottom of the bottles, whichever comes first. Yes, I'm a wine snob. I'm bougie to the bone. Actually, I'm a snob with no money and no breeding, but I can pretend with the best, especially when imbibing wine. Here's how you can be a wine snob too. First, sniff the cork. I hear you asking, why? Don't all corks smell like corks? Oh, you wine neophyte you. Of course not. An oak-aged Chardonnay cork smells nothing like a steel barrel-aged Pinot Noir. One smells light and airy and corky, and the other one smells darker and reddish and corky. Next, pour, or allow the wait person to pour, a minuscule amount of wine into the appropriate glass. No, you crushed grape Neanderthal, you cannot pour red wine into a white wine glass. Red wine needs to breathe after being trapped in a bottle for days, months, or years. Like a genie, it needs to spread out into the bottom of a wide bottom glass. No comparisons, please, to the wide bottom of the red wine drinker. That would be me. White wine, on the other hand, can be poured into a much thinner glass, similar to the more slender figure of my sister, who drinks white wine and who is much less wide-bottomed than I am, which is not fair, but I won't digress. Apparently, white wine can breathe just fine in the bottle or the thinner glass. Perhaps it takes less oxygen to be white. Again, I won't digress. Speaking of breathing, then stick your nose nearly into the bottom of the glass and take a healthy whiff. Depending on the wine, you'll detect hints of oak, cherry, plum, grapefruit, black dirt farm soil, charcoal, bee pollen, resulting honey from bee pollen, irrigation water, the rust from pruning shears, dapples of trapped sunlight, and fermented grapes, one hopes. Whichever teensy type of wine is poured into the thin or wide bottom glass, swirl around and observe the wine's legs. Yes, I said legs, you Victorian wannabe. Legs are what the wine makes on the sides of the glass when you swirl it. The higher on the sides of the glass they go, the thicker they are, and the slower they slide back down toward the bottom, the stronger the alcohol content. I bet you didn't know that, did you? I didn't until very recently, and I'm a certifiable wine snob. It hurts to admit I don't know everything, but there you have it. I've always swirled and examined the legs before. I just didn't know why, other than it made me look cool or pretentious, depending on your outlook. Now that you know it measures the level of alcohol content, I'll bet you start swirling away with all us other cool, if pretentious, wine snobs. The longer and thicker the legs, the higher the alcohol content. That's what he said. Finally, after nodding to the wait person, or to yourself if you're drinking at home. I mean, having 1 or 2 glasses of wine at dinner, you are allowed to imbibe the wine. Unless you're drinking Mad Dog 2020 or one of the teeth-rotting sweet wines of our youth. And if you are, you have bigger problems than I can help you with. You then take the first sip, swish it around in your mouth, and allow it to glide sensuously over your tongue and down the back of your throat, the better to appreciate the subtleties of the advertising copywriter's fantasies of flavors. After the rituals, you may now freely imbibe, which means drink to you non-snobs, the wine. If the ritual is too much for you, know that I spared you the decanting, the aerating, and the required reading of the label, pretending you actually know anything about the region where the wine was produced. I do, of course, but that's just me and my cousin. My sister refuses to be cool or pretentious in regards to wine. I hereby grant you permission to save the extensive wine drinking ritual to one day a year, May 25th. Lucky for you, you missed it. You have a whole year to study, practice, and become the wine connoisseur of your dreams. Bottoms up, wide or thin. Thanks for listening. I'm Chris Kepler, and I hope you enjoyed listening to these stories as much as I enjoyed narrating them. I'd love for more people to hear these wonderful stories, so please share and tell your friends.